So I've been dabbling in nihilism recently for the past couple of months. Um, I came in contact with a thinker called Nietzsche and began reading a lot more of his work and had some experiences that made a lot more of it make a lot more sense to me. And so I dived into his work and read a bunch of his books. Basically couldn't stop reading for about 4 weeks because idea by idea and sentence by sentence, he just was casually stripping away all of the beliefs that I held to be sacred and formed an identity around. And so, as a person that is very public about his beliefs, that was a tricky experience. And the result, when you tear down an old belief system, is you end up in this place of limbo before a new one fully emerges. It's like when the old gods die, there's a period of time in which you're still waiting for new gods to emerge. And in this sense, I'm using the word God to describe your highest aim, your sense of purpose and meaning in life. So, I've been there for a bit in the abyss, trying to feel around in the dark for some sort of solid footing or solid walls that I can lean on for some sense of existential certainty that has not come until a few days ago, when I realized all of this thinking about what's the point of it all, what's life for, it has a purpose to it, right? You think, what is life for, so that you can, if you can answer that, then you can know what to give your attention to, you can know what to organize yourself around, and you can know what to organize your life around. And you can know what to prioritize, you can know what goals to set. I mean, if you know what life is for, then you know the rules of the game and what constitutes a win. So you know what to optimize for, what to sort of place your bets on. But when all of that gets blown up by a nuclear bomb called Nietzsche, you essentially have to figure it out yourself. And for a while, I've felt like I am not certain about anything, any of my previous beliefs that gave me a strong sense of footing, a strong sense of meaning, a strong sense of just being grounded in a pursuit other than myself. My whole philosophy sort of got butt fucked, to put it politely. So, why am I making this video? Well, a couple days ago, something occurred to me. And it might sound mundane, it might sound banal, but it occurred to me not on an intellectual level, but on a very embodied level, that my future is, and my life is entirely my own. It is mine. I have full responsibility, which also means I have full freedom for where I want to take it. And so in the absence of any pre-written life path, in the absence of any preordained ultimate goal of life, in the absence of any preordained purpose to existence, I suddenly realized, after spending a while feeling like, oh fuck, it's all pointless, and staring at my computer trying to do work, thinking, well, there's no point in this, like, it's all kind of, everything goes to zero in a long enough time frame, and really falling back into nihilism in many ways, it suddenly occurred to me that, like, hold on, why am I waiting to, like, find the answer when I can create it, when I can make it? And there's a quote, I don't know if it was Douglas Adams, is it? The guy that wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I think it's him, but I'm not sure, so don't quote me, but it could have been Viktor Frankl. I don't sure. Anyway, the quote was something like, man spends all of his time wondering, asking what is the meaning of life, but does not realize that it is he who is asked. And that struck me when I first heard it a while ago. But yet I was still holding on to some sense that there was a intrinsic purpose that was sort of objective and the same for everyone. there was a capital T truth that everyone was here to do the same thing or to aim at the same goal, and everybody was measured against the same yardstick. But when you realize that it is us who is asked, who are asked, that can be scary, but it's also incredibly liberating, because holy fuck, that's a lot of opportunity. And if I could just sort myself out and put myself in order, then I could actually build something I could build a life that would justify itself. It wouldn't need any justification in another world such as heaven. It wouldn't need any grand meaning. It wouldn't need to be tapped into the capital T truth of the ultimate purpose of existence to which everybody is relevant. If you do a good enough job at it, at life, you can build one that justifies itself. Like the Ouroboros that eats its own tail. It can be a self-sustaining source of meaning. And it just hit me that was possible. That just wasn't something that in my body I felt to be possible beforehand. And so when the certainties I had held sacred for the past 5-6 years that pulled me out of some really dark places as well, sort of were shown to be not certain at all. I held them to be unquestionable, and Nietzsche came along and, well, questioned them, and not in any easy to disregard manner either. So I just wanted to make this video because I think it's worth reflecting on that your future is wholly and entirely yours. All of the pressure that you feel about, oh well, my parents want me to do this thing, and society tells me it's bad if I do this, and it implies something negative about my character if I take this career choice instead of that one. All of these external shoulds and shouldn'ts are not objective, and they are not orders either. The people who purvey them would like you to believe that they are orders, but nobody has any authority. Authority is a purely human thing. It's a purely psychological phenomena. It's not physical. And so, yes, father figures can be scary, and parental figures can be scary because they carry so much weight and authority, and they can tell you what to do, and it makes sense to suck up to them when you're a kid, because you don't fucking know anything when you're a kid. But I think maybe that's a big part of what becoming an adult is just realizing that your parents are just kids that grew up, and so is absolutely everybody. Everybody's just a bunch of children that grew up. And that childish aspect of them is still there. It's like they've found many coping mechanisms, and they've been fed what Nietzsche called whips and meager morsels, so like positive and negative reinforcement to adjust their behavior, but they're still internally, oftentimes, despite presenting the most well put together exteriors, most people are still internally just literally not much more evolved or matured than children, and they don't really know what the fuck is going on. It would only take you to ask why a few times to some of their biggest questions about life, or the answers to some of their biggest questions about life, sorry, and you'd find out quite quickly how little they actually know. Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. So the people who tell you what to do are often just struggling with some element of themselves, and would like... Sorry, I was going to fuck up the color grade. They discover some hint of truth, and then maybe it's like, you need to move towards fear. Like, you need to be more courageous. They discover that, and instead of then doing it themselves, saying, I will do that, they run around saying, hey, everybody, you all, everybody else, you should do this. I've discovered the truth, and you should live like this instead. You should pursue this career path. You should focus on this goal. You should have this type of relationship. You should X, Y, Z. And most of the time, it's just because they're afraid to do the thing themselves. And so, just be careful how much you internalize the shoulds and the shouldn'ts of the culture and of society and of your parents and of your immediate family and close kin. Because, don't get me wrong, there are some people who should just listen because they're doing such a bad job. Like me, when I was like 18, running around doing drugs and stuff, like my mum was like, you should stop doing that, and I should have listened. And eventually I did listen, and I did stop, and it turned out to be right. But once you like stop being a complete retard and you start to be a bit of an adult, that's when you have to begin asking, like, okay, what am I actually working towards? Does it make me come alive? Does it fill me with enthusiasm and vitality? Or am I doing this purely because I've internalized the normative judgments of people that also have no fucking clue what they're doing? And there's a lot, right? There's a lot of suggestions. There's a lot of schools of thought with a view to the question of how to live. You've got, especially if you're a young dude, you've got like the whole red pill sphere, you've got the manosphere, you've got like all the different political ideologies and subcamps, and they're all trying to pull you in a million different directions and give you the ultimate lens through which to see reality, the ultimate schema and the ultimate yardstick by which you should measure all things. They've discovered it, and they want to sell you it so that you can join them. And it can be overwhelming because everybody makes good points. Mostly everybody makes good points. And it's easy to adopt any one of those schools of thought or modes of being, and to subscribe to the ideals that they contain therein. The red pill types tell you that you need to just focus on becoming a Chad and being a hyper-masculine, all the kids getting sort of riled up by Andrew Tate to assert themselves and become more traditionally masculine, and there's a good reason for that. And then you've got the opposite of, you've got the Jordan Petersons of the world who, preach more humility and responsibility. And to be fair, he's not full in that direction because he still preaches the masculine values and whatnot. But you go a little bit further on that spectrum, and then you've got the people on the left who are basically saying that you have inherited centuries of mortal guilt, and it's your job to make reparations for that, and you should walk around with your shoulders forwards and your head down because you're just such an evil young man. And well, I guess it's no surprise that young dudes are moving away from that particular worldview. But lots of people, you'd be surprised, even if you on the surface disagree with it, you'd be surprised how much that social conditioning can actually affect you internally. And so anyway, there's a million different people selling you a million different glasses through which to look at the world. And each one of those glasses comes with a goal of life and ideals to aspire to. The ideal of that, the one I just mentioned at last, was probably something like Pedro Pascal, like just pure, everything is about kindness and compassion. It's just like lovey and smiley and stuff, and it's like, yeah. Anyway, that's completely irrelevant, but everybody has their own ideals to subscribe to. But the problem with their ideals is that as soon as you have one, you're really selling your soul to it. There's all that stuff about don't sell your soul to the devil, but like, you're gonna sell your soul to something. It's gonna be an ideal. It's gonna be a schema of what it means to live well. And there's a solid chance that if you adopt that ideal entirely from somebody else, then it's going to be the wrong one. And you're going to end up castrating yourself and mutilating yourself in many different subtle ways that are hard to notice, because parts of you just don't add up with your ideal. There are, the person you're trying to become is so different from what you are that you just end up essentially disregarding what you are. And I think that leads you directly to a place where your biggest life goals, your biggest ideals have essentially aren't yours. They've just been decided for you. And that's when they start to feel empty. And that's when it starts to all feel kind of pointless. And that's when you start to slowly die or rot from the inside out. And so, as hard as it is, I think you have to look directly into the abyss and realize, okay, there is no capital T truth of the right way to live. All is suggestion. There are no orders. Nobody has authority. Everybody is guessing. And then you have to look at that and fucking place your bet. Because if you don't, you're just gonna get swept up by the tides. And, some figurehead of some new ideology will come along and swipe you up, and then you'll be fully convinced of that for a while. And then a new guy will come along and he's like integrated some of what the previous guy said, but he's changed it a little bit. And so now you're fully in his camp. And then you hear somebody who's quite contrary to both of them, but does a good job at disregarding or disproving many of the axioms of their ideology or their ideals. And maybe they just do a good job at shaming them and making them seem pathetic. And so you go, okay, this other guy has it figured out. I'm going to follow what he says. And you can just be on that fucking roller coaster forever, where you're basically in a fucking tumble dryer, just getting sent left, right, up, down, backwards, forwards, in all different directions, and never really making progress on becoming who you actually are and creating the life that you actually want. So be careful with that. I think that is just about all I had to say, but I want to talk a little bit quickly about how I currently now feel about this idea of my future being my own, and about this embodied realization that rather than being the one asking what is life for, rather I am actually the one who is asked. Therefore I must provide my own answer and make it. And it's not going to exist currently, it's going to exist in the future. It's something that I have to build. There's a fucking spider on the lens. I just killed it. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, how does that feel? Well, it feels kind of like I've just started surfing. This is a weird sidebar, but I've just started surfing. And when you catch a wave, you feel the fucking force of it behind you. It's just launching you forwards. And what I feel after that clicked the other day, of realizing that I can actually produce the future that justifies itself in my personal life. It feels kind of like a wave is behind me, pushing me now. And I've been struggling with motivation for a couple months. And now it's like, I'm starting to really feel like, oh, okay, there's a sense of urgency that's come back, but it's not from a place of, I should do this because I need to, or I need to do this because I should. Instead, it's from a place of, I can do this, so I will. And you got to find how to get to that place, I think. But again, I'm just another guy giving you another lens through which to see the world. So take it with a grain of salt, but I think that's a good place to leave it. Anyway, sorry for abandoning this channel. I don't know if I'll upload this to the main channel or the second channel, but either way, yeah, that's something that happened within me recently, and I just wanted to express it. So, adios.